All right. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Rare Gems and Cuts. I'm your host, Cliff B, and this is my opportunity to bring the love and joy and power of music shared with my rare gem guests. So, without any further ado, let me introduce my first rare gem guest. Let's start this off right. Hold on. Let me get this in the right key. All right. The rare gem that I have with you today is a singer, a songwriter, an actress, a performer, an all around arts aficionado, someone that I've known for many, many years, but we'll get into that a little bit later. Ladies and gentlemen, let me introduce my good friend, Miss KATHY MERRICK.
What's that?
Hey, Kathy. How are you today?
I'm good.
I'm good.
Yes.
So let me just give a disclaimer, and I'm not going to get into mathematics here, right? But you and I have known each other a long time. I've known you since you were 12 years old. I'm not getting into mathematics here, but I've known you since you were 12 years old. So we cover a lot of history. We have a little bit less than 6 degrees of separation, probably less than 6 degrees of separation, right? You come from, our families are connected, and our generations beyond that are connected, and so on and so forth. And obviously, you come from a music family in Washington, D.C., one which I've known for a period of time and pretty much all my life. You started out your career, is it from the influence of your family, your mother, your father, and your brothers and things like that? How did you really start in Washington, D.C.? Where did that really begin for you?
Well, like you said, I come from a family. My mom, I didn't find this out until after she passed, that she used to tour and sometimes would go out with Count Basie. And I'm like, how come I didn't know this?
What?
She never talked about it. But we always had music in the house. She listened to all kinds of music. But one of the first moments that I remember being smitten by music was when they played the Beatles in our house. And I was about 5 years old. And I remember thinking, wow, what is this? But in past that, music was always in our house. I listened to the Jacksons, the Earth, Wind and Fire, the Ohio Players, the Isleys. I could go on and on, Stevie Wonder. And I never thought about being a singer until later. My family, we used to sit around and do jam sessions in the house. My brother was a guitar player, Kevin.
Mm-hmm. Tell everybody the band that in Washington that I'm familiar with, but that was pretty big there.
Oh yes, Kevin was in a band called Brute.
There you go.
But that was later in life.
Okay.
Brute used to open for Earth, Wind and Fire, and Kevin was the reason that I discovered Earth, Wind and Fire.
Okay.
And he came home with their albums, one of their first albums, and once again, it's like, wow, what is this music?
Yeah. So Kevin is the one, the guitar player. He kind of got you into the whole music thing of wanting to be a singer. Is that where it came from?
Not necessarily.
No.
Listening to music and the Supremes was a big influence. I loved the way they looked, performed, sounded, wanted to be them.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, later in life, I ended up being in the Supremes group. But for fun, me and my girlfriends, Lori Smith,
I do, yeah.
Lori Smith, a girl named DC, and I can't remember. I think a girl across the street, Lori James. We used to get together and pretend we were the Supremes, and three of us would be the Supremes. Of course, I was Diana Ross. And we would get with the tape recorder, because that was the new thing, and do interviews, pretend like we're on the late night shows and do interviews. How I got into singing, I mean, you couldn't get me to sing. I would go up into the bedroom and pretend to, not pretend, but sing in the
So,
bedroom.
I guess what you're hinting, at is you were very shy.
I
I
was super.
mean, yeah, because my recollection of meeting you was when you were into Laverne Reed dancing. Okay, so you were primarily doing the dancing thing. That's my first recollection of your art from
Yes.
there, right?
Yeah. I started with them at 5. I mean, 8.
Whoa, I didn't know that. 8.
Yeah, at 5, my mom tried to put me in dance class, and I refused to go. At 8, I was bored and didn't know what to do with myself. And Laverne was my cousin, Kim and Donna, godmother. So they called me one day and said, "Hey, you want to take dance class? Our god Laverne is teaching class in a swimming pool." I said, "Wow, that sounds interesting." So I went to Banneker swimming pool.
Yeah.
The pool was empty. There was no water in it. And we took a class in this empty swimming pool. I said, "Oh my God, I got to come back." So that's
Oh,
how I
wow. Wow.
there. From there, we had class 2 or 3 times a week because it was funded by the Department of Recreation, which they don't have anymore.
Right.
Great program because it allowed young kids who didn't have the money or didn't know what to do with themselves some sort of education and culture. So I was taking classes for free, and
Mm-hmm.
in doing that, I met all these beautiful people, these wonderful people that became my other family,
Mm-hmm.
um, and they kind of helped me come out of my shell. I was
Mm-hmm.
around a lot of crazy, crazy
Yeah.
out folks.
I mean, being an introvert and then being up on stage, you have two different energies going on in life, right? I mean, that's like,
I have no idea how that happened.
yeah.
I
Wow.
have,
Do you,
it was
do,
my heart.
do you still, I mean, I know you do a lot of different art forms, and do you still get very nervous when you get up on the stage and do your thing? Or is it just come natural to you?
The only time I get nervous is when I'm not sure of what I'm doing. Uh, when I'm sure of what I'm doing, I get super nervous,
Okay.
excited, nervous. So
Understood.
different kind of nervous.
Understood. So from Laverne, what was the next adventure in your life? What was your next journey after Laverne?
I'd have to say dancing with Laverne. She exposed us to a lot of culture musically
Mhm.
because we were dancing to some wonderful music. We were dancing to uh, uh, Satin Doll, Duke Ellington, Pointer Sisters, Earth, Wind, and Fire.
Yeah.
Uh, Wonder, I think one of the first songs that I learned at 8 to dance to was his song Superstition.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I mean, we're being cultured in that in that sense. I'm being exposed to different kinds of music. But it was when I was on my way somewhere with Laverne and a few of the dancers. We were all in the car together, and I was singing in the back seat of a car, and I was singing Reasons.
Ah.
But this is years of listening to music and just that was my what do you call it? My fun is just to just lay under the record player and
Yeah.
listen
Yeah. Yeah.
and learn lyrics. And so I was singing Reasons in the back seat of the car, and Laverne said, "Who's that?" And everybody yelled my name, Kathy. And soon after that, she put me in these musicals that she was doing. Every Christmas, she would do these big productions, Broadway type productions. Um, so she gave me a lead part. So
And
that's how
and
So
Yeah.
the other thing I give credit to is Ricky Payton, who was our musical director for Laverne's shows. He would teach everybody the music and the lyrics and work on us. And I think this is probably maybe 4 years into, or 5 years into doing her plays every Christmas. And so Ricky heard me singing, and at Howard, they would do these talent shows. So he wanted to enter his songs, because he was a songwriter. He wanted to enter his songs into, but he wanted me to sing them for this talent show. So I said, okay. My parents said, oh no, we got to come see this, because they had never heard me sing a note. Couldn't get me to sing a note. Everybody singing in the house but me.
Yeah. They probably, your mom and dad were like, no, she doesn't know how to sing, right? They're like, no.
Yes, I was a closet singer.
Yeah. Shower singer, closet singer, right?
So when they came to see me, my mother said my mouth dropped because she had no idea I could sing. So, and it was after that Laverne put me in lead roles. So I got lead parts. And from there, people saw me and asked me to do sessions. And so I started doing stuff. At the same time, Robbie and I started a group called Robbie and Company, which Peyton wrote the music for us. He wrote a song called Robbie and Company.
I love it. I love it.
And we were his backup singers.
Okay.
My cousin Ruji and another friend of ours, Ellen. So we would come out and do a few songs, sing Robbie and Company, and he would come out and sing. He was the focus now.
Yeah, Robbie.
That's how it started. And then from there, me and Robbie ended up doing a duet, just him and I, and ended up getting Dewey Hughes, Dewey.
WOL, yeah.
Kathy Hughes, ex-husband.
Yes.
He ended up managing us for a time. And then as time went on, my mom kept saying, hey, you got to put Kevin in the group. Now, this is after Brute disbanded. So Kevin was not doing music anymore. So the three of us decided to get together and be the Merricks. We'd rehearse our harmony parts in the bedroom and learn songs, put a show together.
And y'all were gigging around in DC, the area. I remember that time and space when y'all were doing a lot of gigs in DC, right?
We were.
Yeah.
Fern ended up putting us in one of her shows. Mayor Barry and his wife, Effie, took to us and she had us singing for Nancy Reagan. And so we were getting political gigs around town.
Yeah. So let me ask you something too, Kathy. It's just kind of interesting too, because like I said, I've known you a long time, right? The arts, when I think of the word the arts, I think of you. I mean, obviously I have conversations with musicians and people, but when I say the arts, because my familiarity with you is that you're kind of well-rounded in the extent of it's just not just singing, it's not just playing a particular instrument, it's you have an appreciation for the arts. Have you ever had a like a 9-to-5 job, like I mean, like outside of your arts? Have you? Like, what kind of stuff have you done? Just
let me go back. My very first job was a blessing because I worked for the Department of Recreation every summer.
That's cool.
Started at what's the working age? 13 or 14?
Yeah.
Whatever the working age is. That's when I started working every summer as a dancer, 9 to 5.
Okay.
9 o'clock in the morning, we had ballet, 10 o'clock was tap, 11 o'clock was African, 12 o'clock was lunch, 1 o'clock was whatever the next thing was on the schedule. And then we got paid to perform throughout the city.
That's a cool job.
That was a great job. It was a summer job.
Yeah,
though.
yeah.
Once I was 18 and able to work, in or out of school, I ended up working at a retail store, but it was not for me.
Yeah. I asked you that question because I'm not trying to imply that, oh, you're not working, but I'm just trying to imply just your dedication to what you do. I guess your first priority is art. So with that, you've been pretty fortunate to kind of have some things just kind of click into place for you over the years, one thing to another. You know what I mean? That's just my outlook on you. Am I right?
Right. You're right. But of course, you have to survive. I ended up moving out of the house, so I had to have a job. But outside of everything was based around what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So the job had to be flexible, which I ended up being a waitress for years so that I could manipulate my schedule to do auditions or whatever I needed to go to class, to do whatever I needed to do to be able to pay my rent and do what I wanted to do.
Right.
But it was meeting Lisa Frazier and Vivian Ross through Laverne.
What now? That name, Lisa Frazier. I'm familiar with it, but I'm not really familiar with it. Give me a little bit of detail about Lisa Frazier.
Lisa Frazier was one of the singers in Shades of Lace.
Okay.
Lisa and Vivian and I ended up to. There we are.
That's it, baby.
That's when we were babies.
Yeah.
Well, the three of us ended up moving out to LA together to pursue, a record deal, actually. Woody Woods, who was our manager, I think he was involved in Laverne's shows. Yeah, he was. He ended up managing us and writing for us and producing us. And he was from Los Angeles. So he said, okay, you know what? I think I can do something for you guys. I know some people in Los Angeles. So he said, would you mind traveling to Los Angeles to do a demo? We were like, sure. So we flew out to LA, did a demo. Then we went back to LA and he said, I'm going to stay here. And if I can get a bite on this, if I get some interest in you guys, do you think you would want to live here, move here?
Okay.
That in a heartbeat.
Absolutely. Huh?
So it was 6 months later that he called us and we jumped on a plane, moved out here, didn't have a place to stay. We were bouncing around. Eventually, we ended up renting a little tiny 2x4 room, which the three of us stayed in. What are you pulling out? Another one, huh?
Yeah.
There we are.
Go ahead. So you're in a little teeny room?
What's that?
You're in a little teeny room?
Room with a twin bed in it, and it only fit one person, but two of us would sleep in it, and the third person had to get the floor. I was the one that was getting the floor because I was hanging out. A social life. Because, I was the only one who had my own apartment before we moved out to LA. So it was a big adjustment for me to move out to LA and be in a room with two other girls. So I met people and was hanging out. So I ended up on the floor. But before we moved to LA, we met this guy. His name was Robert Brookins. And Robert happened to be friends with this woman who became our manager. Woody introduced us to this woman named Bonnie Sweeney, who became our manager. And she was also really well known in the business. And
Yeah, I've heard that name too. These are all business names that I've heard or perhaps read on, album covers or trade magazines. Yeah, go ahead.
Bonnie used to do the pre-Grammy party, which
Okay.
got to be a really big thing in LA, sort of an underground thing, but everybody in the industry was aware. Need some water. Everybody, in the industry knew her.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, this guy, Robert Brookins, who was playing with Stanley Clarke at Blues Alley. It's Blues Alley? I think so. He followed us into the store. So we started talking to him. He gave us tickets to concert. We ended up connecting with him when we got to. And Robert was a writer for Stephanie Mills, The Whispers. I mean, he was kind of moving up in the business, and people knew him. So he immediately dialed this in to, the scene. So, I mean, we got really blessed and fortunate in that, things were happening for us.
So just real quick, a lot, I'm sure the people that know about this. I guess this was a really weird time for music, right? It just in terms of it changing and things like that. The music industry was shifting a little bit.
But the first album that we did, we didn't know it was shifting. And the first album was interesting because I felt like the music was cool, but our image was, it was like we didn't have a real solid hold on our concept.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Where we go. Because we ended up signing a production deal. And when that happens, they kind of control your concept.
Okay.
Well, I'll take that back. We had a concept of what we wanted. We were 3 singers. We wanted to be lead singers. We knew Lisa had this amazing voice, and that's rightfully she should be focused on, but we wanted, everybody had their spotlight. And when Lionel Job came into the picture, who was, the producer who we signed with, he had his own ideas about the direction of the group. So he was doing things that were not necessarily unifying the group. He basically gave most of the songs to Lisa. We didn't have an issue with that per se, but I got a song, Vivian got a song. Then there was one other song that he had Vivian and I auditioned for, which I didn't like that, because now
that's a little different, huh? This is you kind of, like you said, putting people at odds with each other, right? That's a little different.
Now we're vying for the, okay, I gotta sing better than Vivian, or if I want this song, I gotta do better than her. But
it kind of sounds like a RuPaul, RuPaul dance off, right? Dance for your life and don't fuck it up. Ding.
Yeah, as opposed to, okay, let me see what her strength is. Let me see what her strength is, and let me see what her strength. I know what her strength is, but I'm not sure. So, well, just let me throw them bones. That's what
yeah.
As opposed to, okay, work with them and see what their strengths are and magnify that. You know what I mean? And make this a great group rather than, dividing the group. We also found out that during this time, Denny and Tommy, who produced In Vogue, they were meeting with Ed Eckstein, who was the president of the record company, Wing Records.
Mm-hmm.
they were meeting with him to work with us, but they couldn't come to a meeting of the minds. And this is out of Denny and Tommy's mouth. They said, we couldn't come to, an agreement. So we just discarded the whole deal with working with us, and they decided to put their own group together.
Yeah.
Our own 3-girl group together, which, ended up being a 4-girl group. But I was like, dang, we could have had those songs.
Yeah. But yeah, and those songs were hot too. But I think eventually, as a lot of stuff does in the music industry, the dynamics of the group falls apart because you start to feeling like you belong to someone else and you can't let your own thing. I mean, I'm not trying to get into the whole In Vogue thing, but I think they had a lot of dissension between themselves personally and the writing and this and that, and you become owned. You become owned. Like you said, conceptually, once you sign that deal.
Right, you use your own ability to do your own thing, which when Lace got together, it was us who putting the costumes together and who were putting our shows together and putting our harmonies together and Woody musically, but it wasn't do this, do that.
Right.
It wasn't a dictatorship. Not that it was a dictatorship, but
freedom. You didn't have the freedom. The freedom was changed.
Right. They're supposedly the experts.
Right.
This is what sells. And so you're following a, what do you call it? Not protocol.
A formula. It's like a formula. It's a formula. Yeah, it's absolutely a formula. Like movies, the same type of things in movies, working when you bring a script that's different than the big blockbuster script, they are kind of, there's a formula. Same thing with music, right?
Well, and we were part of the resurgence of 3-girl groups. I think the other girl, I can't remember. Oh, Madam X.
Oh yeah, I'm kind of familiar with them.
They came out around the same time or a little after. And then there was another girl group, but I can't remember. But so that was a thing too. The resurgence of 3-girl groups. But it just felt like they didn't know what to do with us. We weren't going in the right direction. The music was cool, but the image wasn't right. The second time the music wasn't right, but the image was going in the right direction. So it was like this, all the working parts weren't fitting.
How long was your Lace experience? How long did that last for?
Let's see. We moved out to LA in 85. I'd say 7 or 8 years.
7 or 8 years. So after your Lace experience, where did you go from there? Where was your career headed after your Lace experience?
Okay, so when we lost the record deal, we ended up singing. Well, Viv quit the group. She ended up moving to Vegas. And so Lisa and I ended up finding another girl. We found this girl, Wendy Smith Brunet, who I sing with now.
Mm-hmm.
She came in, but before that, Lisa and I ended up touring with Johnny Gill, singing with him. And Brooke Payne and Jeff Dyson, who worked with Johnny, they wanted to become our management team and maybe try to get us a new deal as Lace. So Brooke was and Jeff were instrumental in us finding Wendy. And we ended up doing a demo tape. We had Marva King.
Oh yeah.
Marva?
Yeah, no, I've heard that voice.
Yeah, Marva actually ended up working with Prince.
Yeah, the big voice.
Great voice. She ended up working with us for a minute. But then that just kind of didn't happen. Can't even tell you. I don't even remember what happened. It just kind of, everybody's in survival mode and trying to work and things happen, life happens. But after that, I ended up getting in another group. I ended up getting in a Japanese exclusive recording group. And how I got that was Ollie Woodson, who is the singer for one of the singers for the Temptations. And he sang "Treat Her Like a Lady." You know him?
Yes, I know that song. Yep, yep, yep.
Well, he's like family. He's my brother. That was Vonnie's big brother. They were family, not by blood,
Mhm.
but by default. We became family because of Vonnie. He called me and said, "Hey, I have a friend of mine who's connected to a Japanese record company, and they're looking for a girl to replace one of the original girls in this group ASAP." And at the same time, Diane Gordon, who was one of the singers for ASAP, was a friend of mine. So it was like my name was coming from both directions.
Mm-hmm.
And was saying, "Hey, we should get Kathy," and Ollie was saying, "Hey, I have a friend, who you might be interested in." So I didn't even have to audition. They just said, "Okay, this is a no-brainer, right?" Because it's coming from different directions at the same time. ASAP was an exclusive group to Japan. We only recorded for Japanese distribution. They would come here, the Japanese producers would come here, book sessions, use LA session musicians, and then we would go in the studio and sing these they were called Japanese remakes. So they were standard Japanese songs that we took and made them American and updated them. So
Is any of that stuff with it on wax? Was it on CD form? Where is the music?
CD, I don't think it was cassette. It was just CDs only.
Okay, yeah.
Because it's distributed in Japan, they're not available here.
Right.
But I have them. We recorded about 5 or 6 albums. We did TV shows. I mean, it was awesome.
And would you go down? Obviously, you perform in Japan.
Yes, only
only in Japan. I got you.
But they did a album. Their first album was huge, and so when this girl didn't work out, they needed to replace her. So I was the replacement. So when I came in, they had already had a buzz, so we were doing radio and TV, and it was actually pretty cool because we could go there, be famous, come here.
Yeah. That's interesting. That's a very interesting dynamic too, right? And very interesting.
Because they only brought us over for a few months at a time. I came back home and I was working for different artists. I ended up working for Boz Scaggs and James Ingram and artists like that. As a matter of fact, I ended up pregnant while I was recording an album for ASAP with Boz.
Wow.
On the road with a big old belly.
The dirty lowdown.
My thing is, he didn't know I was pregnant.
Interesting. Wow.
I got the job. It was Lisa and I that got the job. And we got that job because Lisa and I sang. Here he is. Awesome, by the way. Lisa and I got that job because we sang background for a session for Tom Jones. We did. Lisa and I sang on 2 of Tom Jones records.
That's cool.
And the producer for that session told Boz about us. He said, "Oh, I got the perfect girls for you." I think Boz was just starting to come out of hiatus from not touring.
Mm-hmm.
And so he was looking for girls. And so when I got in, I was 5 months pregnant or 4 months.
Wow.
So I had a little teeny bump. And I
Wow.
was curious. So he went to everyone in the group and said, "Is she pregnant?" He didn't come to me. And I guess I really should have gave him that information. But I knew if I did, I wouldn't get the job.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And I needed the job. I had to pay my rent.
Right.
But he was the coolest guy because as I got bigger and I started to show, he never said anything, but he would ask, "Are you okay?" He flew us first class because I worked with him all the way up until I was 9 months pregnant.
Wow.
And
Wow.
when I started getting really big at 7 and 8 months, he flew us, me and Lisa, first class because, you know, he was concerned. The band was pissed off.
Yeah, because you were getting it. You were getting a little extra something, huh?
Treatment, yeah. He would have guys carry our luggage.
Yeah.
They were like, "This is my job."
Yeah.
And I admire that about him, and never got a chance to really thank him for that, because afterwards, after I had the baby, I did go back and work with him for a short period of time. But then it got too crazy to have a child and go out on the road for months at a time.
Mm-hmm.
I had to rethink doing it, even though I loved working with him.
Do you have any, and I know you have a lot of different experiences. Do you have any like these just amazing musical moments in your career that you just really, maybe somebody you liked working with, or a particular moment that you just was like, that's just really, really cool? You have any of those moments?
Okay, so at this time I was working with James Ingram, singing background, and I ended up getting to do a duet with James. So that was amazing.
That's very cool.
But we ended up getting this gig for the Sultan of Brunei, which, you know, at that time he was the richest man in the world. Yeah. So we flew to Brunei. We stayed, I mean, it wasn't a fancy place, but we stayed in this place. I guess that was specifically for us, because I don't remember a lot of people being there, except for Stevie was there the night before.
Mm-hmm.
So we were crisscrossing. Stevie had performed the night before, so we came in that night. So that was an amazing thing.
So let me ask you about an experience like that, because that's something I always kind of think about, fantasize. Maybe you shared that story with me years ago. So with that particular gig, do you do it in his living room? Do you, where do you perform? I mean, is it just like, okay, come in my living room and sing, or does he rent a stadium, or how do you do that? How does he do that? How do you, you got money like that? Tell me.
It was for his daughter. It was for his daughter. So and it was on his grounds. So it was at his house, but it was in a tent. But it didn't look like a tent. And it's sort of like a corporate event. And they had a built stage, and it had a rig, so it was high class and high level. It looked like a venue.
Yeah. Okay. That's very cool. That's very, very cool. So from there, okay, another kind of thing I want to talk about here is, obviously you've been on the road with this a lot, doing your Supreme things. Tell me a little bit about how this kind of came into transpiring with you.
Okay. Well, it's not the original Supremes, of course.
No, this is not this. These are not right here. I didn't pull that one out. I just like it because of the name here, Supreme Go-Go, right? You know what I mean? Obviously. Okay. And it's kind of pertinent to what you do too, because you're not the original either, right?
mean, there's been some discrepancy with our group. Well, the group that I was singing with.
Yeah, yeah.
It was a group called the Sounds of the Supremes. Wendy, the girl that I was telling you about, who replaced Vivian, Wendy was doing this gig with the Sounds of the Supremes, and they traveled overseas a lot, and so she didn't want to travel like that. And at this time, Kyla was 2 years old, and this is when I transitioned from Boz to the Sounds of the Supremes, because they would only do well, most of their gigs were one-offs, which means fly somewhere, do one gig, come right back. So we would fly to the UK, and it would take maybe 4 days, because it's 1 day travel, do the gig, and come. But you usually travel and get there the day before the gig, so it's a total of four days, which is not that long, and it's easier for me to. It was easier for me to find a babysitter for 4 days rather than 2 or 3 months.
Right, right.
Which, when I was working with Boz, I would take Kyla to my mother. That's the only person I would trust. And Lisa was the godmother, so between the two, I would keep Kyla with either one of them. But when doing Boz, Lisa was on the road with me. So the reason I decided to do the Sounds of the Supremes was because, number one, I had to not be on the road so much.
Okay.
So 4 days sounded great to me. And that only happened once a month or once every couple of months. I'm like, okay, that works. Secondly, the Supremes music is amazing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
It worked for me. And this girl, she replaced one of the not original Supremes, but Sherry Payne, who was there for quite a while. She did quite a bit of recording for the Supremes, with the Supremes as a Supreme. Karen replaced her. So there's just some discrepancy as to whether Karen was a Supremes member, whatever. But that was how she was selling the group, as a Supreme member. So we did some amazing gigs all over the world. And we traveled to some places, I would have to say, that maybe even some artists didn't go because maybe their entourage is too big, or they didn't have the money to pay those kind of gigs. But we've been to some amazing places. We did ships, we did a lot of corporate. We worked with Dennis Edwards. Ollie Woodson had his group, his Temptations group. Richard Street had his Temptations group. We worked with Damon. He worked with his Temptations group. We toured, like I said, with Dennis Edwards, who being on the bus with him was amazing, because he would tell some amazing stories. Yeah.
That's coming straight from the source right there, right? No doubt, right?
Yep.
No doubt. You did this. The Supremes thing took you, like you said, all over the world, all in different places, for a period of time, right? How long did you do this for? Are you still doing this now?
Actually, I stopped doing it.
Okay.
For about, it's been over a year since I was
Okay. Okay.
But I did it for quite a while. I did it for almost 20 years.
That's a long time. Kathy. So let me. I want to shift. I just want to shift the energy a little bit. So obviously, we're into a real different paradigm shift with music, and things are changing, and live, and things are opening up. Things are not opening up. Your time spent at home here, what has it brought to you musically? Has it have you shifted a little bit? Have you been writing? What has it brought to you, just in terms of the time that you've been in the house?
I have been writing. One thing is that John is here.
Hmm.
He's been here for a year.
Yeah, and hold on, and let me just stop here because I didn't really want to drop his name in the beginning, so we're gonna drop his name, because you are married to the drummer, Mr. John Parrish of Earth, Wind, and Fire. So we will drop that name because this is all about you, baby. But anyway, so he's home. That's different, right?
With him, so that's important.
Yeah,
He's not here, which they're on the road, maybe 6 months out of a year.
yeah,
He's been here, so he's available. And there's
yeah.
time when his schedule might get busy, and so I don't have the time to write with him all the time.
Very cool.
COVID. I have other people that I write with, but he's my favorite.
That's cool. Yeah,
He's just an amazing artist, musician,
yeah.
amazing ear. And when we write together, we sometimes hear the same way.
Okay.
Um, so yeah, the COVID has allowed us, I think we've written 4 or 5 songs since we've been in lockdown, which is a good thing. That's including all this other stuff that he has been doing.
Okay. Okay.
4 is good.
Yeah. That's a lot of work. Do you kind of see things shifting? I mean, obviously, we're in a really different place musically because live venues and people being together. How are you feeling about all these type of things that are kind of in question? You know what I mean? Are they affecting you, or are you taking it in?
What do you mean?
I
You
mean,
mean
like, because, with COVID, they're saying, oh, live venues are going to change and, we're going to, all these different dynamics. I think a lot of people are just unsure about, especially with music, you know what I mean? And musicians as well.
well, we don't know what's going to happen. But one thing we know is that people love live music. So will that change and people embrace live streaming? I don't think so.
I don't think so either.
Even if they have to wear masks and stand 20 feet apart, people are
Yeah,
going to want to come out
I
and
agree.
involve. It's a vibration that you can't feel on a TV.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? You
I
just
agree.
disconnect to some degree.
Yeah,
Earth, Wind, and Fire and the Isley Brothers
right.
did verses.
Yeah.
Uh, it was amazing.
It was a great success too. People are still buzzing about that. You know what I mean? They're
Right.
still buzzing about that.
What made it so amazing was the incredible body of work that both of them had. So
Right.
they weren't even performing. So
Right.
that was the amazing buzz on that. So we all went down memory lane with that.
Right.
But for other groups, I mean, people want to feel and connect.
Yeah.
That's a one to me. That's a once in a lifetime thing. That verses.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I agree. It is a once in a lifetime thing. It's a very different thing. And that's kind of like, obviously you see I've got a lot, like 8,000 records behind me. And one of the things that I can pull out some music and catch that vibration of that once in a lifetime when I saw them live. You know what I mean? I can kind of recreate it as such because that's how music is, you know what I mean?
Exactly, and that's why people were so a buzz.
Yeah,
That's
absolutely. Absolutely.
I,
So
I felt watching it. It was like you said, going down memory lane and reconnecting with that emotion that you felt that song brought to you.
yeah, yeah. Because I didn't really pull out a lot of records today. I mean, when I asked you what type of music that you really grew up on, you gave me like a list that was like a stack of records this big, you know what I mean? Because you vibrate, you know what I mean? It vibrates to you. You know, it's in your soul. Yeah, you know what I mean? Look at that. You know what I mean? It's like, can I just name a few? I mean, I had a stack over here like this, and I didn't want to start pulling them out because you mentioned a lot of them as well. You know what I mean? And
It's
obviously, that's
like
what music brings to you, right?
yes, it's like saying, who's your favorite child?
Yeah, exactly. Right. That's a kind of a rough question right there, you know. Yeah, exactly. You know what I mean? But obviously, music, I can tell music for you vibrates.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah.
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 I wrote, I've been keeping journals since I was 17 years old. And I found my 17-year-old diary, journal,
Mm,
not diary, journal.
okay. Uh-huh.
At one page that says, life, music is my life. And I still feel that today.
Yeah.
It's my life. I mean, what would we do without music? I think I
Yeah.
died without music.
Yeah. You know, I often, I do know some people that don't listen to music. And whenever people say they don't really listen to music, I'm kind of suspect because
Yeah.
I put you in a different category, like no music. I don't really understand that one, you know? Like usually for me, one of the things that I do when I walk into someone's house and if they have records, I generally can flip through their record collection and learn about them. I can learn about them, you know what I mean? I mean, I learned about you when you were telling me all of the particular groups that you like and stuff like that. It says a lot about you, you know what I mean? One of the ones that I have to kind of pull out here before we end it here is this particular album here, right? So this Narada Michael Walden album. This I turned you. I didn't really. I forgotten about the fact that I turned you onto this album. But this is an amazing album here, right? It really got slept on, and not really stepped on too much. Talk about this just a little bit.
Um, well, and it's funny because now listening to it, some people who would listen to it now may not connect with it
Yeah,
the way I did or people did back then because it was a fresh sound. It was different and beautiful. The
yeah,
melodies were beautiful. And that was my first awareness of Narada Michael Walden.
yeah,
And
yeah,
music for me just resonates in my heart. And
yeah,
it makes me feel things that I don't know how to explain. But that album was major for me. And there's
yeah,
several albums that did that to me. Like
yeah.
I said,
Just name a couple of just off the top of your head, real quick.
what albums that did that?
Yeah.
Um, well, let's see. I'm gonna go back from when I was little.
Yeah,
Stevie, Minnie Riperton's album did that.
yeah,
Michael Jackson 5, of course.
yeah,
I was just enamored with his voice and
yeah, 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 yeah.
uh, of course, Earth, Wind and Fire.
Right.
Amazing.
Stevie, yeah. I'm gonna pull some of these out there. I'm gonna pull some of them out that you mentioned to me since I got you here, right? So hold on. Here, you mentioned Barbara Streisand,
Oh yes.
right? Here's another one. The Jackson 5.
I had a collection of 300.
Yeah.
Nowhere near what you had. Oh yes.
There's the
Yes.
Rufus. The Beatles.
Beatles.
Yeah. Here.
Who's that? Crosby, Stills.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
You know,
You have amazing taste. Go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say I feel very eclectic when it comes to music because I like music. I don't care what genre it fits in. If it
Yeah.
resonates with my soul, I like it. I love
Yeah.
it. So it
Yeah.
does. Yes. Remember the group Yes?
Yeah. Obviously. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. I was like, oh my God. And when the music resonates with me, I just live with it.
hmm
Yeah, the Yes album.
Yeah.
But later in life, I gravitated to what do you call it? Instrumental music.
Okay.
I remember Vonnie saying to me, because I used to listen to a lot of instrumental music, like John Luponti and Pat Metheny and Chick Corea.
Mm-hmm.
And for her, it was like, what the hell are you listening to?
Yeah, yeah,
That crazy. And I'm like, it's music. It's
yeah.
music. For her, she, you know, music without vocals didn't make sense to her.
Okay, okay.
But to me, it sang to me, Yanni,
Yeah,
all those just beautiful music.
yeah. So Kathy, as we wind down here, I kind of like to ask my guests just to give some words of wisdom. You know what I mean? Just some thoughts. I mean, that was a real powerful statement, like from your journal. You know what I mean? I mean, that was very, very powerful. But if you could just give some words of wisdom, or just some thoughts, or just some feelings about you, music, just please do that for people. Can you do that for me?
Um, Words of thoughts. Well, music is power. Music has the ability to help evoke change. Um,
Hmm.
I think it matters what we listen to. I try to write inspirational, positive message music, um, even if it's about breakups,
Yeah, yeah,
even if it's about love. But I think it matters what we put out into the universe because people vibrate on. I mean, you feel that energy.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I agree. I agree. All right. So thank you very much for sharing your time, your story, and your energy with me today.
Oh,
I
I enjoy
really do appreciate it. You know what I mean? I love you as always.
get to tell you about the honeycomb.
Oh, please do. Oh, yeah, hold on. Yeah, no, break the honeycomb thing down. Come on, talk about that real quick. Yeah, yeah. Come on.
Yes, and so for the last couple of years, I've been since 2014, been singing with the Honeycomb group, featuring Shelley Clark, which is Verding White's wife. So naturally, that's how we kind of connected because John's been in the group almost 20 years. So I've been circulating and connecting with the Earth, Wind, and Fire family for 20 years. So when she wanted, we ended up going out to dinner. There they are. That's my girl.
There's your girl. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Out to dinner, celebrating their birthday. And at the table, she said, hey, let's put a group together. I said, okay. So I brought in Wendy, and we really tried to do something separate from the Honeycomb, but it just made sense to stick with, where the attention would be.
Yeah.
And so we decided to do the Honeycomb, which she had every right to claim the name, but
Absolutely.
we weren't trying to take anything from the original singer Edna Wright. Uh, Rest in peace, God.
Yeah, yeah. God bless him. Yeah.
But so we, wanted to work as a Honeycomb group featuring Shelley. So that's sort of how we got the group together, and to this day we're still working together.
Yeah, please tell people, I know that you're up on Facebook, kind of tell people how they can kind of connect with the Honeycomb thing. I know everything is kind of quiet right now. We're not touring and things like that. Tell folks how they can really catch up with you and what the Honeycomb thing is doing right now.
Basically, we're just doing interviews, and we have a Honeycomb page, the official Honeycomb page.
Okay. .com, honeycomb.com.
.com.
Okay. Honeycomb is on Facebook as well.
Thank you.
Yep. And also for people that don't know, Honeycomb originated, was it in Washington, D.C.? Are they originally from Washington, D.C.? Where are they originally from? Just tell me real quick. I don't remember.
From LA.
LA. Okay. I don't know why I was thinking. You know what? I'm getting confused with another group. I'm thinking the Fuzz. That's what it is. The Fuzz. Honeycomb is from LA.
Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So that's a good place to kind of stop because that's where you are here and now in its totality, dealing with the honeycomb, right?
That's right.
Absolutely. Okay. Thank you so much, Kathy. I didn't mean to cut your honeycomb thing off there. You know what I mean? You got so much story. I could spend 2 hours with you just talking, trying to push everything into one capsulized moment. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? But I want to thank you very, very much. And I appreciate you sharing your story with me and spending the time with me today. Okay. All right. Be safe out there. Okay.
Too.
All right. Peace. Love you.